Good morning. We got a few shootings to go over that all happened last night, so let's kind of start wading through these one by one. But the first one happened a little after 8 p.m., probably about 8:20. This was in the 3400 block of East 11th Street. So we had a few people inside an apartment, and what happened is there was some type of argument between two guys. We don't know what the nature of that argument was, but the one person, our suspect, pulled out a gun and shot the victim in the leg. The victim was able to get out of the apartment, and then somebody called 911, and when officers got there, they found the victim in the hallway, apartment hallway. Once they kind of pieced everything together, the victim was taken to the hospital for his injuries. They found everything inside the apartment. I think all the people that had been inside there had left as well. So we have an idea or know who the suspect is, but no arrests have been made at this point. This is a thing I don't think there's any danger to the public. It was a dispute between two guys. Our victim is 26 years old.
It was just a one gunshot.
One gunshot, yep.
Where was it at, in the leg?
In the leg, yeah.
Not life-threatening.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think it was considered non-life-threatening.
Was it like an argument that led to that, or?
Yeah, the two of them had an argument, and like I said, I don't know what the exact nature of that argument was, but an argument, and then the suspect pulled out the gun and shot the victim.
Do you know what cross street involved that?
That is near Sneevy, 11th Street and Sneevy Avenue.
You said when officers arrived, the victim was in the hallway?
Yeah, right after the gunshot happened, the victim basically ran out of the apartment, and then I think he was banging on some apartment doors, and somebody called 911. So when the officers got there, he was found in that apartment hallway. He wasn't in the apartment where the shooting took place.
What time was that?
That happened about 8:19 is when the call came in, so probably a little after 8, just given the time delay before the call came in.
Did we get names of those involved?
No, the only names we give out are people that are arrested or charged, so victims and witnesses, we don't give out names of those, just ages. Okay, so we've got two other aggravated assaults. Those are tied together. The first one was about 6:50 p.m., and this was inside an apartment in the 4200 block of East Ronning Drive. So we had two guys that were inside the apartment. A third guy, who ends up being our suspect, arrived, and it sounds like he was an acquaintance with at least one of the guys that lives there. The renter and our suspect, we believe, did some drugs together, probably some cocaine, possibly some marijuana as well. The suspect then became paranoid and ended up pulling out a handgun and started firing the gun inside the apartment. One of those rounds went through the wall and then struck the third guy in the leg. Back up a second. The suspect then ended up leaving the apartment after that. The victim was yelling, and the renter found out that the friend had been shot, and then police were called after that. So I'll just kind of continue with that, but officers ended up finding drugs inside the apartment. There was some cocaine and marijuana found, so the renter was arrested on those drug charges. The victim that had been shot in the leg, he was not charged with any crime. Obviously, he was taken to the hospital for his injuries. The man that was shot is 27 years old, and I'll get to the renter in a minute. So after the suspect fired the gun inside the apartment on Ronning Drive, he then left and went to a house, trailer home in the 100 block of South Rochelle Place. So it was probably a little bit after 7 p.m. He got there and started firing the gun again inside the trailer home. There were several relatives that were inside the trailer at the time. Thankfully, nobody was injured from that. We had somebody who was able to call 911, and then officers got there and found the suspect inside. He had some cocaine and marijuana on him in his pants pockets. He was taken to the hospital for treatment. He will be charged with several crimes. He hasn't not been charged with any crimes at this point in time. So I think they're anticipating he may be released sometime today. So there'll be some charges that happen after that.
Is he taken off kind of because of his condition being kind of paranoid and whatnot?
Yeah, well, I think it's probably because of the drugs that he ingested. Yeah, and so that he was. I suppose maybe just a precautionary reason that he was taken to the hospital to get cleared medically. And so that clearance hasn't happened quite yet. So we're anticipating it'll be sometime today, but we'll have to wait and see.
The victim who shot the wife did he live in that apartment complex or was he
The
part of
vic,
that apartment?
yeah. So the victim that was shot on Ronning, right?
Yes.
I don't believe so, but let me double check. He may. He may live in that apartment. I guess I don't know if this information is current. I'll say there's a chance, but I know that doesn't help you out much.
Is he like walking around in that apartment, or is he kind of in the hallway, or?
The victim?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the victim in Ronning, he was in a different room.
Okay.
And so when the suspect started firing the gun, actually there were several bullets that went through the wall. One of them struck the victim in the leg.
What was the name of the renter that?
Yep, and so that was the guy on Ronning, the guy that was charged with the drug charges. Get this pulled up here. His last name is Martinez Padilla, Martinez Padilla. First is Antonio, Antonio, and he's 29 from Sioux Falls. And just the two charges, three charges, I guess, but the possession of controlled substance, possession of marijuana, and then the paraphernalia.
Did they take an ounce of drugs on him?
No, let me see if it has weights in here.
Because him and the guy who shot the gun were suspected that actually.
He and the suspect were believed to be using drugs before the shooting took place. Let's see, we had. That doesn't say. Let me check one other thing here. It wasn't big quantities, I know that, but. It's not under that one. Problem is I've got a couple of different reports that I'm bouncing between, so. Yeah, it doesn't say.
The shooter at that second location, he was found with small quantities on him too.
Yeah, I have that somewhere. The shooter had. Yeah, they don't have the amounts in here yet, so. Let's see, that was this one, I believe. So on Rochelle Place, when the shooter was found, he had a couple of bags. Let's see, a baggie of cocaine that was 9.9 grams, and then there were, looks like there was a different bag that had some white powder in it that was not tested, and two baggies of marijuana that was 13.7 grams.
Did he walk to that second place, Rochelle Place?
He had been driving,
Oh, he
so
did.
yep, he drove from after the shooting took place on Ronning, then he drove to Rochelle Place.
Do you have a cross street for Rochelle at all?
Rochelle, it's Rochelle Place and Aaron Place, and that's I think that's over by Arrowhead Parkway and Foss, kind of across the street from the Walmart over there. There's a trailer court over there.
Is it, since you guys wait until he's cleared to charge him, does that typically happen for those kind of cases?
Where somebody's taken to the hospital?
Yeah, and you guys have like
It really depends. I mean, there's certain times when we'll dealing with somebody that's suspected of a crime and believe that they may need some. Sometimes it's obvious that they need medical treatment. Sometimes if we believe they're under the influence of drugs, we'll take them to the hospital to get checked out. And a lot of the time, it's they'll have just a quick visit to the hospital, and then the doctors will say that they're fine, and then they can be taken to jail. But there are some times when people stay a little bit longer. Okay, good on those. Hopefully I didn't confuse you with that. The other aggravated assaults are basically just reports, a couple of domestics in there. One of them was somebody was threatened with a knife. I don't have a whole lot of details on that, so we're still waiting for things to come in. The burglaries, we had a storage unit and then a home that were entered. The disorderly conducts and subjects, most of those are trespassings. We did have a probation violation, but nothing big. The family offenses are all reports. Nothing big from the larcenies, a lot of shopliftings, a few unlocked cars, but nothing big. Outside the narcotic stuff we talked about, nothing else was big. The robberies, the first one was basically an attempt. That was just before 11 p.m. We had a guy that was had been walking his dog, and just from the way it reads, I don't believe the dog was on a leash, but he was in the 4200 block of East 12th Street. And as he was walking, there was another guy that came walking up to him, bumped him, and then basically made comments about wanting to know what the man walking his dog had with him. There was a short conversation, and then the victim thought that the suspect was starting to pull out a weapon. The victim yelled for his dog, and when the dog came running back to him, the suspect took off running. So wasn't anything taken, there wasn't any weapon that was displayed, but the victim thought that the suspect was reaching for a weapon. The other robbery happened yesterday morning, and that was about 9 a.m. That was at a motel in the 1500 block of West Russell. We had an employee that was inside the building and saw a guy that had been kicked out several times. And when she went to kick him out, told him he had to leave again, that he wasn't allowed to be there. He pushed her to the ground, kicked her a few times, ended up taking her cell phone, and then took off running. So it sounds like we know who, or at least she knew who he was, so we've got some information to follow up on, but the suspect was not found. The victim just had some minor injuries.
That was the 1500 block of West Russell?
Yes, 1500 block of West Russell. And I think that's pretty much it. The simple assaults, most of those are domestics, nothing suspicious with the unattended death, and the vandalism that involves a juvenile. Anything else?
How about a rollover near on East 10th Street, kind of right after that running shooting?
Let's see, I didn't hear of anything, but let me do some checking. you know about what time? So the Ronning one was, what's that?
Maybe 8:30 to about 9:30 maybe.
Okay.
Carlo's kind of over retaining wall, you know. You're like Jackie's place.
Okay. It was on 10th Street?
Yeah, east end, yep. But kind of maybe a little off there, just a little bit. The other cross street would be kind of near Stevie too.
Okay.
Stevie Watson, kind of.
I am not having any luck. Maybe. You said it was somewhere near Bonson, kind of that
Yeah,
area?
between that Jackie's restaurant and that Starbucks there
Okay,
on East End.
I
Kind
think,
of, we saw pics of, Carlos over the retaining wall there.
I think this is it. Maybe if it'll open. There we go. Well, it looks like. Where'd I go? Looks like he was in the parking lot and I just lost it there. So I don't know, let's see. I don't think we had any witnesses when it happened. He had made the comment that he was in the parking lot on his phone and wasn't paying attention and then went over that retaining wall. They believe that he ended up getting arrested for DWI. They believe he may have been huffing something or ingesting something. So it wasn't alcohol, but he was clearly under the influence of something. So
Did you have like a cough or something, or
a what?
did you have like a cough or something, or?
A cough?
Yeah, you say he was huffing,
Like
like breathing hard, or?
no, like ingesting something. He's smelling it.
I gotcha.
You know. Yeah, so it was DWI second, a few traffic violations. One of them was ingesting or inhaling a substance to become intoxicated. That's the huffing that I was talking about. That's about it that I have for that.
Do you have his name?
Sure. Let's see, so the accident, or it happened at 7:28 p.m., and that was in the 3200 block of East 10th Street. And his last name is Morrison, Morrison. First is Dalton, Dalton. Middle is Ray, Raye. And he is 25 from Sioux Falls. Good on that. Sorry it took so long.
Thanks, Sam.
Anything else? Nothing? Okay, thank you.